Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans. Today is Tuesday, April 2nd. Can you believe it? It's April already. It's crazy. I'm so glad that you are here with Laura and myself. Laura, say hi to everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see everybody.
If you're able to turn your camera on, we would love to see your gorgeous faces. It helps us get to know you a little better, and it helps when we can see your reactions to the questions. Now, you know how this call works. We meet here every Tuesday at 12:15 p.m. Pacific time, and Laura and I, are here to answer your notary questions. All you have to do is raise your digital hand. You can find that at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you don't see a raised hand function, look for the word more, and there's three little dots above that. Click on those dots, and the raised hand function should be in that menu. So if you have a question, now is the time to raise your hand and get in line for Laura and I to answer your questions. Diana, if you are still on the call, if you could make Jen Cooper a co-host, that would be
She already
fantastic.
has.
We're
She
good
has.
to go. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And so while you guys are raising your hands, I just want to start off with a reminder announcement. We've been saying this now for the last couple of weeks, but if you would like your product or service or course to be featured on Innovator Spot, or to be featured on Tuesday Notary Titans, excuse me, you must be also featured on the Innovator Spotlight. And that is what we are now using to qualify people to advertise their businesses on this weekly call. There's over 100 notaries on here every week, so it's a great way to advertise your business. Jen Cooper's going to put some information in the chat if you are interested in signing up for the Innovator Spotlight, which is hosted by Notary Business Builder. So for today's Innovator Spotlight highlight, I want to talk to you about Linda Benningfield and her digital resources for notaries. We highlighted her last week, but we did have a little issue with the link. So I wanted to repost that again today so you guys could check out her customizable templates for social media, for blogs, for business marketing, digital planners that she has available. And she even has print on demand products like mugs and t-shirts and things like that. So if you would like to check that out, we encourage you to click the link in the chat and go visit Linda's profile on the Innovator Spotlight. It is a marketplace for notaries. And the cool thing is, it's not just notary products. There's all different kinds of products that we would love to highlight because we know that there's more to each of us than just being a notary. All right, let's get into some questions. I saw Celicia's hand raised. Celicia, what do you have for us today?
Would you like me to lead it off?
Absolutely.
Well, you know what yesterday was, right?
April Fool's Day.
But when you get home and you've got a letter from the office of the governor.
What happened?
I married someone last year in the capacity as a notary, but the woman, the mother of the man, called me emailed me about 3 weeks later and was mad as a hornet that I had married her son. And she was saying that he had no right to get married. And this is a 50-year-old man, by the way. He was in fact dying of cancer, and he did subsequently die. But she was all hot about me marrying her, and how could I have done such a thing? And he had he wasn't in his right mind, and he was taking, Dilaudid and this and that. And I said, well, ma'am, I'm not a doctor, I'm a notary. And he answered all the questions that I asked him in the beginning about, are you, want to get married and all those sorts of things. I had a witness there. It's his best friend. And so now I get the pleasure of contacting Legal Shield and giving them an answer within the next 10 days of that. But, as I'm looking at it, the person who actually notarized this is the clerk of courts. That's the person who is actually the notary. The clerk of courts is the person who notarizes a document. The person who marries somebody can marry them in the capacity as a notary, in the capacity as a rabbi or a minister. But I don't actually notarize a wedding license. So she may be barking up the wrong tree on this one. I got a feeling she is.
Well, it sounds to me, Celicia, like she's probably was left out of the will, if there was one, because her son was married. And once he passed away, she did not get what she wanted. So that would be my guess as to why this is happening. But did you have a specific question about it for?
Well, also, I happened to actually also do the funeral for the man, and then the woman got up and was raising Cain and had to be removed by the funeral director. I mean, this woman is not exactly level and calm.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask, did I do the right thing by calling Legal Shield to get some help in responding to this request?
I'm going to go with absolutely, but Laura?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely yes. Before I'd be responding to the government or to anybody about somebody who questioned what I did in whatever capacity I did it in, I'd be asking for some legal assistance. And it's just probably an opinion after they listen to what I did to either say, yeah, you just need to repeat that, or you might want to include that. Because when you get an impartial person to listen to it, they might share with you something you weren't thinking about. Even if it wasn't Legal Shield, then it wouldn't be a legal opinion, but even talking to somebody else who would just listen to what took place would give you some insight.
I really never thought I'd hear. I mean, the woman, when she wrote me this email about me unmarrying her son, I said, well, ma'am, I can't unmarry someone.
Yeah, that's called a
That's
divorce.
one way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my good old April Fool's joke when I got home last night.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sorry that happened. That is, I'll be interested. You'll have to keep us posted,
Yes,
and
I'll
let us
keep you
know.
posted. I'm sure there'll be more.
Let us know what happened, because it sounds like this is going to be something quite dramatic for you if it was somebody like that. So thanks for sharing that though, Celicia. Hey, Beth, how are you?
Great, Jen, thanks.
Awesome. What is your question for us today?
So I'm actually here today because it's kind of in the same vein as what was just talked about. I wanted to thank Laura for going over it might have been a previous, I can't remember which call it was, but where you went over the 4 steps
Oh.
you take for competency when doing like a POA, or in our state, we do self-proving affidavits for wills. Because today I had a sister call from out of state for someone who I notarized a self-proving affidavit for. And she said she was surprised. She didn't even know her sister was in the hospital. And that, so this ended up being that the woman was the people who were the beneficiaries of her will were her neighbors. And so I followed the steps and even went a little more in depth, because when I walk in the room, I tell whoever's invited me there, I don't want you to even introduce me to this person. I will walk in, I will introduce myself, and I'll ask and tell them what capacity I'm there in, and ask them if they know why I'm there. I'll ask them to introduce themselves to me and where they are and why they're there, and what the documents are that we're notarizing today. So I am really in depth trying to figure out how competent they are to sign this document specifically for POAs and end of life anything. And the sister ended up on the call. She was like, my sister and I aren't close. And I'm totally going to honor her wishes here. But I really wanted to know how, how this came about and what the vibe in the room was and how my sister was at the time. And I said, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you how sick she was or, all of that. All I can tell you is she only had to convince me that she was competent enough and understood the document that she was signing, and that she knew where she was and no one was coercing her. So it was really helpful to have like those 4 steps, really. And even if I chose to go in depth with it, to really be able to say this to the woman and remember it and know that this is what I always do. And I was able to go through my journal and and remember, the person and the whole like conversations that I had with her. And I'm always very aware of conversations they're having with the other people in the room too, if they seem like they're really with it or they're friends with the witnesses, that sort of thing. So the woman ended up getting off the phone with me and she was like, I feel so much better now. I feel so much better knowing, that you notarized under these conditions and this was the circumstances in there. And I'm like, look, I can't tell you anything other than why I felt it was okay for me to notarize. That's it, really. But I'm not here to give you testimony or anything, for that in this phone call. But I'm glad that I can make you, at least help you understand. So
So
I just
thank
wanted to
you.
thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm glad that it was helpful. I personally use that system every time I write in code what it is I did. So I know what that means. And it does come up, guys. The work that we do today isn't for today. The work that we do today is for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, should something come up. And that's really the kind of tricky part of what we do is we're trying to set in stone, this is what happened, this is who was here, this is what I did. And the better job we do at that, the likelihood of that transaction being upheld is higher for that signer. So thank you for sharing that you're using it.
Thank you.
And Laura, would you share those one more time for everybody so they can hear them on those 4 questions you asked to establish competency?
The 4 questions that I ask when I'm not dealing with the signer directly, somebody else is making the request, or when I get there and it's a skilled nursing hospital, or I've been told that this person is having difficulties, medical difficulties, I first ask who they are. Can they tell me who they are? Meaning, what's their name? The next thing I ask them is where they are. I'm in a hospital, I'm at home, I'm at my daughter's house, wherever that might be. The third question I ask, it depends on if it's a hospital versus, at home. And that might be people that are in the room. So I'm looking for the ability to tell relationship. I see this person over here. Who is that person to you? And they might say, it's my neighbor, it's my wife, it's my daughter. So I'm just looking, can they tell relationships, one person to them? And then finally, I'm going to be asking about the documents. I've been called out here today to notarize documents. Do you know what they're about? They may not know the name of the document specifically, but if they can tell me, yeah, I need documents so that my daughter can pay the bills, or so that my son can talk to the doctor and help me with healthcare decisions, anything that tells me they understand the nature of the document. And then if it happens to be a power of attorney or a last will, and in that case, I'm probably a witness, unless I'm doing the affidavit, I will ask, and who would you like to take care of those things for you? And I'm hoping to hear the person named in the document. That's what I'm looking for. So that's basically what that interview consists of.
Thanks for sharing that again. And I, the first time you said it, I thought in my head, like, that is such an important piece of information for us to carry in our back pockets as notaries so that we can qualify people, especially when they're in the hospital, because we're not, like Beth said, we're not doctors. We don't know. So thanks for sharing that again, Laura. All right, Holly Alexander, what is your question? Tell us where you're calling from first and then your question.
Certainly. I'm calling from Santa Cruz, California.
Awesome.
I'm grateful to be here with all you experienced notaries. So I am live from Notary 1A, still waiting for my commission. So I have some real granular but quick questions, but with all the fabulous information, I do have that drinking from the fire hose.
Yes.
Okay, really quick questions. Where can I find a video that actually shows, okay, here's the notary certificate. This is what you're looking for. This is what you're signing. Now you do your stamp. Or do I need to buy the essentials from NNA?
Would you like me to take that, Jen?
Yes, please.
So you could buy the essentials from the NNA. It's not really going to do more for you than what you learned in class.
That's
Same
what
level of detail. I do happen to have a video called Real World and for California. And
Okay.
it's a over 2 hour video. And we spend about 30-40 minutes on documents where I
That's
show you the document, I show you your part, I show you the certificate, and I'll show you certificates that don't meet California standards. I help you to figure out how to identify what it is rather than telling you what it is. And so that seems the feedback I get that 30-40 minutes of it is the most helpful because I focus on the 10 or so most common documents I'm asked to notarize.
That's exactly what I need. And I was, searching through the library this morning, and there's so many delicious choices. Laura, I did notice that that was dated 2022. Do I need to be worried about any updates or?
There's been no changes in California.
Okay, thank you. Thank
And
you.
Holly, I did put the link for Laura's real world training in the chat for you as well.
Thank you, Jen, and loved hearing your daughter interviewed, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
So there's another granular question. How many phones do you folks have? I'm wondering this, if your phone is blowing up for notary work and then your personal life. Okay, Laura, you have one. Jen,
I
you
have one. You
I
can
have
put it
one.
in the chat, guys, if you want to put 1, 2, or 3, however many phones you might be having. She can watch the chat go by.
Just curious. Thank you for your responses. And lastly, I have to ask this question. I'm coming out of the, real estate industry where I'm still a realtor. What concerns are there out there about going to people's homes in terms of safety? It's just it's a safety question.
Yeah. And I think you're right to ask that. You're at the beginning of your journey, and obviously a lot of what we do is visiting people's homes. And I if the best advice I can give you is if you are ever, and you know this from, I'm sure, your realtor training, Holly, but if you are ever in a situation where your gut feels even the slightest bit like this is weird, I don't like this, it is perfectly fine. And you absolutely should 100% leave. You are not, your safety is not worth any amount of money. So Laura, have you been in a situation where you've had to leave?
I wanted to answer, but my dogs went on alert.
Oh,
Well, I did have an appointment, and it was actually not at their home, but rather it was one of those little independent car lots. And it was a loan signing. And when we got in there, he right away noticed that the terms were not what he had agreed to. And he started cussing a storm. He picks up the phone. He starts yelling at whoever, the loan officer, whoever it was. And he didn't like what he said, and he threw the phone across the room. It sailed past my head. And I said, okay, you need to work this out. And I got up, took my stuff, and I left.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's the closest that I've had a situation where I felt that my safety could be in danger. Really, although there was one time there were gunshots outside the house, but they said, don't worry about it because, they're a drug house across the street. So, but the people were very nice. The people were very, very nice. And that was when I was a brand new notary. I will say that I hear all kinds of suggestions, like always let somebody know where you're going.
Yes.
And what your expected time back should be.
Okay.
All right. So that's the one thing. So people know where you're going to be and when you should be back. I think that's important. Some people carry some kind of device on them for their safety. I don't happen to do that, but some people do feel safer with holding something that's, their key ring, something like that. That would be another thing. The other thing is when I ask who's going to be there, if it's a man I'm talking to and he's the only guy that's going to be there, I ask a little bit more about the documents. When if nothing rings a bell, I'll go there. And if there's like it's secluded, it's kind of really out there, I'm worried about that. What I would do is call them up and say, I'm coming nearby, but this is pretty far out there. Would you mind meeting me at Starbucks or a Denny's? That would be better for me. So those are the things that I suggest.
Great.
And
Thank
I encourage everybody, if they've got some safety tips that they want to share with
Yeah,
Holly,
put
to
it in
put
the
those in the
chat.
chat. You guys have already done that. And I really think the most obvious one, Holly, is if you have a significant other or a friend or neighbor that you can always share your location with. So if anybody ever is like, Holly's not home, she should have been home by now, they're able to get on the phone and just look up and track you that way. That's, something that, I mean, we have everybody in our family, even kids that are, the one kid that's off the payroll, we make her, we track her. So just in case, you never know, in this day and age. But those are all great questions. So if you guys have any other safety tips for Holly, please put those in the chat.
Thank you so very much. And thank you for not being annoyed by my granular questions. I'm sure.
No, that's what we are here for. Absolutely. And I'm
Thank
excited that you are at the beginning of this awesome notary journey. Welcome to the business.
thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, get those hands raised up if you have any other questions from us. In the meantime, there's some events happening that I want to talk to you about. Thursday's a big day this week. The California League of Independent Notaries is hosting its monthly roundtable. It's at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can register at calnotaries.org/events. And Cooper is putting that in the chat box right now so you guys can get signed up for that. And I want to be very clear. The things that are discussed at the California League or CLIN roundtable every month are not specific just to California. They go over legislation and potential rule changes all over the country. And it's important that you stay on top of this information. So if you're able to register and attend that, that would be fantastic this week. Notary Toastmasters is a notary specific Toastmasters group to help you improve your speaking skills, presentation, and leadership skills. They meet virtually twice a month. So the first and third Thursday of every month, they are meeting at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time this Thursdays. It's free to attend your first couple and check them out. But of course, we do encourage you to join because it's such an amazing group and you learn so much. It's such a, and what a great thing to put on your resume. The NNA's April 2024 Success Summit featuring Vanessa Terry and Anna Berza is in 10 days, April 12th. And like I said, Vanessa and Anna are the featured speakers. You can check out purchasing tickets for that, passes for that at the link in the chat. And then, of course, also with the NNA, the big conference in Orlando is right around the corner, May 13th or 16th. If you've not gotten your tickets and you're in the Orlando area or you can get there, we encourage you to come. It's going to be an amazing conference. If you're not able to attend the NNA conference, but you're craving some connection, the Michigan Notary Consortium is happening immediately after the NNA conference on May 17th and 18th. So if you're in that Michigan area, we would love to see you there. Bill and I are going to be there speaking. And then the Notary Cruise to Mexico is happening in November. Very excited about this. I'm hosting a workshop, a networking workshop there. Would love to see you as we travel through Mexico and Grand Cayman, November 2nd through the 9th. The information about that is in the chat. And here's the cool part, guys. You can make payments on that. No interest payments. So you don't have to write a check for it all at once. And then Laura is speaking in October at the Notary Academy Retreat in Scottsdale, Arizona. The link for that is in the chat. And beginning next week, we are going to have even more conferences to be talking about. There's so many awesome notary events happening. And as always, Laura and I encourage you to get out there and network with other notaries. These conferences are a great way to do that. Meeting other notaries, they're not your competition. This is a potential referral partner, potential venting partner, somebody who understands what it's like to be a notary entrepreneur. And who knows, you may even meet your newest bestie. So check out all of those events that are in the chat, and we'd love to meet you in person there. So let's get back to our questions. And Jason has one for us. Hey, Jason, what can we do for you?
Hi there, Jason out in Richmond, Virginia. I got two quick questions, and the first one is for you and Laura. With loan signing agent or the certified trust delivery agent, which one would you do first?
CNTD, the trust delivery.
Okay, so do the trust delivery first,
Laura,
and
what
then
do you say?
Well, I would say the same thing only because you can hit the ground running. And the loan signing business, of course, as always, it's cyclical. It will come back. So you'll want to get yourself ready for that, but you have time.
Yeah.
I just got my background check done, so it's partially started, but then it's like I better check and see which one I should be better going with to get a little bit better footing on it.
I think the truth is right now, Jason, just right now, while rates are still high, we are going into this buying season, but when you compare the two loan signings as a brand new notary, it's just a little more of an uphill battle than
Okay.
trust deliveries. So
Okay.
let's start
I
that.
got nothing to lose with that. And my second question was, and this is a really easy one, with the RONs, I've seen so many articles pointing in directions of various different programs. Is there any way to whittle out the ones that we should not go anywhere near? I know things are going to have sometimes an additional cost to it, and that I have to get somebody to create my electronic stamp and everything, but there's so many out there, I kind of don't know what to look for.
I think that's a great question. And I'm going to tap into our audience, Laura, and have them put their favorite Ron platforms in the chat, please. We would love to see those. I'll be honest with you, Jason. I've had my Ron commission for several years now since it became legal in Texas, and I've used it this many times. Laura, have you done a Ron?
No, because it's not going to be
Oh, that's
effective
right. You're in
in
California. Yeah.
California till 2030. I
Yeah.
have attempted Ron facilitation, which is hooking up with another notary in a state where it is available when the client, when it looks like that's a best choice for the client to be doing it via Ron. But that's the closest I have come.
Awesome. So yeah, Jason, check the chat. And if anybody that's listening has a platform that they recommend, that they've used and recommend, maybe not like, oh, I heard this one's good or that one's good, but maybe like something you've actually used and had your hands on. If you could give Jason some feedback so he can start checking into those, that would be great. And you're getting, I
Thank you.
see a lot of repeat answers here,
Yeah.
Jason. So that'll kind of help you narrow it down a little too. Awesome. Thanks for asking that question. Ellie from California. Ellie, you're on mute. Okay, Ellie, we are going to come back to you. Maybe you stepped away or got a phone call. So leave your hand up. We'll come back to you. Nancy in Florida, what's your question for us?
Well, my question is about the cruise.
Awesome.
Where is it sailing from?
Oh, sorry, New Orleans. It leaves from New Orleans.
Oh.
So you'd have to get yourself to New Orleans. I know that's probably disappointing for somebody in Florida. You guys have so many cruises that leave from there,
Yeah.
but it's leaving and returning to the port of New Orleans. So that'll make for a fun little before and after, right?
Yeah, so I can get somebody to bring me there and pick me back up.
Awesome. Well, keep me
Teenage
posted if
daughter.
you're going, so I'll know to expect you there.
All right, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. And I saw Ellie come off mute, so that tells me she's back. Hey, Ellie, what's your question for us?
I purchased a California acknowledgement stamp, and the font size is so tiny. I can read it without a magnifying glass. And so, question for Laura, is there a font size requirement for California?
No, not for the wording. There's a size requirement for our stamp, but not for a wording stamp. And my acknowledgement, guys, if you're not in California, we have the longest acknowledgement ever. And so making a stamp means that font's going to be very small. And I have one, and it is very small. And I typically don't use that unless I don't have another option because it's small. The Jurat one works just fine. But the acknowledgement I use in times of I cannot attach an acknowledgement to the form. So I do use one. You can make them any size you want. You want to make a bigger one, you can. The bigger it gets, the less likely it is it will fit on somebody's document that's already been printed up, meaning you'll probably need the bottom third of the page, so they can only have a document that's 2/3 of the page long when you make it bigger. So good news is it'd be more readable. Bad news is you won't get to use it very often.
Okay, so it's okay to use the stamp even though it's hard to read.
Yes, although it still has the same rules. You know, your wording needs to be legible. So make sure you have a clean, crisp stamp image, even if you have difficulty reading it because of its size. Somebody else may be able to read it as long as it's clean and crisp.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question, Ellie. Thanks so much. And Sandy in California has a question for us. Sandy, what's your question?
Hi, this is my first one I've attended. I just did my certification pass yesterday for the trust delivery. So it kind of, one of the things that I'm a fairly new notary. It's been less than a year. One of the things that has intimidated me about going to assisted living facilities, and specifically what, you know, asking these questions, but if the clients is in a memory care facility at assisted living, to me, that's kind of makes me feel a little intimidated, because it's like that could really be a sticky thing that I don't know if I'd even want to do that.
Yeah. Well,
I those places. I would never recommend going to memory care specifically and then trying to ask those questions. One, you're probably disappointed, and there's a much higher risk about a problem. So it's different if they're in assisted living and they've got some memory issues, and now you're just trying to check where they're at in that. It's like somebody telling me, my mother has Alzheimer's. Well, that's fine. She may have a diagnosis, but where is she in that disease state? Is she at the beginning where she still knows who she is? She knows who you are. I can talk with her. I don't care if she has that diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but when she gets further along, it won't be okay.
Right.
I have to interview them to figure that out. But if they already are in a memory care facility, that means they're long past my help.
Right. Okay, perfect. And another quick question, kind of piggybacking. When I was doing the training, and it has on the trust packets, and it's showing the certificate after what needs to be notarized. When we're doing the loan signing, I know that if this certificate is a standalone document, we add like another little stamp that says how many pages, what type of document, and etc. Do you recommend doing that for those type of documents on the trust delivery if it's a standalone certificate supporting like a power of attorney?
So, I mean, I can go first, Jen. One is when it's a trust package, that means it's in a binder, they're all together. And normally what I'll see is footer codes at the bottom, page numbers that tie it back to the document. So there isn't a need for me to do that.
Okay.
If I was doing a single document for a signer and there was a standalone acknowledgement at the end of it without a page number, anything to tie it back, then I can print at the bottom. I can print just what you would see at the bottom of one of those NNA certificates, you know, page 37, declaration of trust, whatever it is I want to put to tie it back. But I only do that when there's single document signings, not when it's a whole trust binder.
Okay, so if a client has the packet then, and they said they want me to notarize, and then say they have a California compliance certificate, I personally like to use the ones from the NNA that has that optional information. Would it be okay that I could just swap it out?
I wouldn't swap it out if there's nothing wrong with what they gave you.
Okay.
do not impose your preferences on the
Okay.
signer. But if
Okay.
you feel that, if you see that there's no page number or any footer that ties it right on that document, you can print
Okay.
what it belongs to.
Okay. Perfect.
Jen, do you want to add anything to that?
Not a thing.
Thank
Not
you.
a thing. Thanks. Thank you so much for asking that question. All right, Ellie, did you think of something else to ask us?
Yes, her
Okay.
question remind me of my first signing. It was for, the signer was in a psychiatric unit at a hospital. And he seems alert and nothing wrong with him. But for that kind of signing, is there anything I should ask? Like,
Yes.
or
Yes, Ellie. Before I would have notarized anything for him because of the type of unit he's in, I'd be stopping at a nurse's station. I'd be asking for the social worker. I would want to verify that he is not in there for any reasons that would not allow him to sign legal type documents. I would not just rely on interviewing him personally. I would find out from the facility if there's any reason he cannot sign documents. They don't have to tell me why he's there. All they have to do is tell me, is it okay for him to sign documents while he's here? Sometimes it could be fine. It could be that it's a voluntary evaluation versus somebody who's there against their will. So I would always utilize facility staff to help me when I already know there's a potential issue.
okay, back then I didn't know anything. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ellie. That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it is not for us to find out what his diagnosis is or his issues are. It's our job to make sure that he is capable or able to, based on his diagnosis, to sign the documents that you need to notarize. So thank you for that, Ellie. All right, guys, who else has some questions for us? Oh, Danny, I saw your hand go up, but while you guys are getting your hands up, hang on a second. I've got a quick question. I see so many cameras on. Oh, look at all these videos on this morning, Laura.
Great.
On
know.
page
I
one,
love
and
it.
Beth, I need you to turn yours back on, and Holly and Dee Dee, because I'm going to get a real quick picture here. I'm going to show you guys off some Tuesday Notary Titans. Smile, everybody. 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for indulging me. Danny, what's your question for us? Oh, Danny, you're on mute.
Oops.
There you go.
The hospital staff representative is, what's the title that would answer the questions? Is that the ombudsman, or what is?
In a hospital, you won't have an ombudsman. They typically are for non-acute care, long-term care. In a hospital, it might be the social worker assigned to that case. It could be the nurse that's assigned to that patient. So usually there's nurses stations. And I would just go up to the nurses station and say, I'm here to visit the patient in room 402. I'm here to notarize documents. Is there anything that would prevent this person from being able to sign documents with me today? They don't have to tell me why they're there. They don't have to tell me their diagnosis. They're just going to look to see is there a doctor's order, or they're going to check to see if they've been oriented that day. And what that means is usually it's orientation times 4, that they've asked them 4 questions like the ones I talked about this morning when we started this call. And if they could answer times 4, they're considered alert and aware and able to sign documents.
Does that help, Danny?
Yes, thank you.
You got it. Thank you for asking the question. Okay, if you are interested, guys, if you're listening and you're interested at all in connecting with Laura on a deeper level, all this amazing information that she shares with us every single week, Laura, tell us how people can connect with you outside of the TNT call, because you actually have another free call that you host once a week that they may not know about.
So thank you. The other call I host, which is a similar format to this, it's much smaller, about 30 or so notaries each Saturday morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time. if you're interested, it's called Laura's Inner Circle. You would go to my website, coachmelaura.com, and then just leave me your email at the Laura's Inner Circle prompt, and then I'll send you the Zoom link. And I don't change it, so you'll use the same one every Saturday. Matt helps me with that call, Matt Miller. And if on occasion I'm teaching a class, then he will continue the call. So you can pretty much count on it being on every Saturday. That's one way. If you want some coaching, you want to bring some questions to me specifically within my areas of expertise. And then I have a couple of other ways you can work with me. One is I have courses. One is called Real World, and that is state specific. And it goes into detail about what your state requirements are. And then I focus on documents. And it's part of my deliberate practice mantra, which is you got to stretch yourself. You got to do something more than you're used to doing. Showing up at appointments and notarizing documents is not deliberate practice. That's just doing the same thing over and over again. So that's part of that. And then the other one is called LBP, or Laura Biewer Presents. And that is a series of videos, about 10, 12 of them, that talk about different forms of specialty work. Now, some people do better with video, but some people do great with a book as well. And Bill Soroka and I co-authored one called Beyond Loan Signings. It's available on Amazon. And that book talks about the different specialties, and it's been updated because my LBP series is about 3 years old now. And so we've added new specialties to it. So those are all the different ways you might be able to work with me.
A lot of different ways to work with Laura. So let's get some more questions in the next 15 or the last 15 minutes of the call. If you've got a question for us, now is the time to raise your hand. Hey, Daniela, where are you? Oh, are you from Lawrenceville, Georgia?
Yes.
That's where my son was born.
Yeah, you said that.
That's right. Yeah, Gwinnett Medical. Tell us what your question is today.
Okay, so I have two questions. One is simple. For other notaries to join this call, do they have to be an NBB member? Because
No,
I've
this is
told
for any
others.
notary.
That's what I
This
thought.
Yeah, free call for any notary across the country. And if you need the link to join, if you want to send it to your notary friends, Daniela, Jen, can you pull that, the TNT, and register? That way they'll get the email before or the link before every call if they register for it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for
Yeah.
that information. Second question. So, okay, I have an opportunity to present my services to a community. Now,
Okay.
this is like a long-term hotel stay or whatever. And I was just curious on what would you guys, what would be a recommendation of services that I promote? So of course, I'm thinking estate planning, of course, because everybody needs that.
Mhm.
But I'm not really sure if that's like, I'm not sure how to market that. So this was just thrown in my lap. So now I got to come up with something because I want to seize
Sure.
the opportunity. So I'm like, okay, let me think about it and get back to you.
Yeah, no, I love this question, Danielle. So let me ask you, this is a like an extended stay
Correct.
hotel kind of situation. Now, the estate planning education that you're capable of delivering, after going through the CNTDA training, Danielle, is good for anybody. But in this instance, the first thing that popped into my head, I have to be honest, is Laura's form that she gives away for free about the things that are required of the public if they need a document notarized. So if you've got
Okay.
people coming in to stay, like this, it's the medical form, right, Laura?
Yeah, so what it does is it shares like the 5 important points of notarization and what you need to have documents notarized. And I use that really for staff rather than the residents, but I flip it around for residents and I talk about the common documents that they might need notarized. And then to be prepared for that, what are the things that they would need? So it depends on who your audience is.
Is it staff or is it
No, it would be
Residents.
for the residents. That's why I was a little thrown off because, you're dealing
Yeah.
with all age groups, ages, ethnicities. So I didn't really know where I should go with that one. And I'm sure the staff will pick it up also, but the intent is for the residents.
So
Got
I would look at it as an educational opportunity rather than a necessarily direct marketing opportunity, although it is both. And that is, I would be looking at, what do they know about notarization? They probably don't know what a notary is. They probably
Right.
don't know what a notary does. They probably don't know what documents that they may have already had notarized or might need to be notarized because they require notarization. So I would look at sharing with them, why do you even need a notary? What are we accomplishing by putting our stamp on your document? And what kind of documents might you need in your lifetime that would require this process if you've ever bought or sold a home, right? There's a whole bunch of examples you can give. And then you can also add in, and having a notary, there are different kinds of notaries who work in the bank or the shipping stores where you go to them and they provide the service. And then you have mobile notaries, and mobile notaries like me, they come to you so that if you're not able to go out, we can bring the service into you where you are. So you're inferring your services rather than trying to sell your services.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Look
for
at
that.
you carrying the marketing torch today, Laura. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great question, Daniela. And good luck. Let us know how it
Thank you.
goes.
I will. Was the
Dawn,
link
what
dropped?
is your question for us today?
Bling afternoon, everybody.
Hi, where are you calling from, Dawn?
I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
I have my own notary business. I do a lot of things under my notary business. Loan signing, general notary work, in-card fingerprinting, background checks on companies and individuals. I'm about to do the trust delivery agent as well, and
Great.
field inspections. I currently live in a low income community, right? When I did my pricing, my dad always taught me, see who's the lowest, see who's the highest, come in the middle, which has always worked great for me. But I've taken, I want to say about 6 or 7 continued education classes. I've had other professionals come to get my notary services, and it's like, oh, you need to raise your prices. I've taken this program called Scale Up Your Business from LA21 CDC Education and Business Programs. And they had us do this exercise where interview 5 people and tell them to be completely honest, what they liked and what they didn't like. The only thing people were saying is they felt as though when they came to me, they felt as though the price should be cheaper, right? Because I was charging $25. In the state of Pennsylvania, if you're a stationary notary, it's $5. But if you're mobile, you can charge an admin and a convenience fee, which I do. So what I did was, for the people that came to me, because I was in a low income community, I said, okay, I would take the price down to 15. Now I have professionals, insurance people come into my office and they're like, how much? And I'm like, 15. And they looking at me like, what? Oh no, you need to raise your prices. And I've literally, and I'm not even done with, I'm always going to do continued education. But since I've gotten an overwhelming feedback, the last guy that told me, he's an insurance guy, he said, I understand you're in a low income community and you're trying to appease everyone. He said, but your mind will be stuck in that low income price. So I have decided, after I go to the conference in the NNA in May, that after that I was raising my prices back up. For instance, he told me something I charged him $15 for, somebody else charged him $55 for. So how would
what's
you
your question about that though?
that
I'm curious what your
my
question is.
question is one, I am gonna don't know exactly how to word it, like to let them know my prices are raising and why they're raising. But what is your thoughts on being in a low income community? And I do have repeat people come back to me before that, but the last couple that really got me because they called me, they asked me how much to do an acknowledgement, and I was like $15. And they was like, for real? They were like shocked. It's like, we're on our way. And I was like, okay. So when they got here, I was just like, well, how much was everybody else? I said, they were killing you, huh? And they were like, yeah, $25, $30. So my question is, I'm gonna make it a two-part. How should I word it that I'm going up in my prices? And what are your you or you and Laura actually your feeling about being in a low income community and trying to but still run a business? Because I can't people tell me business is business.
Well, listen, first of all, I want to say this one thing too, because this just kept screaming in my head as I was saying this. You cannot try and please everybody. You're going to drive yourself
Okay.
crazy if you try and please everybody. And the second thing is, Laura and I do understand what it's like to try and meet people where they are, because if you guys recall, we launched a platform called Notary Business Builder in December of 2021, which was the worst possible time for the notary community because rates had started to go up and we weren't making the kind of money we made to join that kind of, community. So our um, um, understanding of trying to meet people where they are, which is what I think of when you say a lower income community, Dawn, and leaning into it. It's up to you to make that decision on what you want to do. But what I would say, and this is something I saw Cynthia Jordan put in the chat, so I felt like she was reading my mind. She was knowing where I was going with this, is if you raise your prices, right? I don't think you need to announce that to the public necessarily because you're telling people when they call, and it's also based on their needs, right? But I would say to your regular customers, I would let them know that you have raised your prices, but you're going to let them keep the discounted price of $15. Not everybody has to have the same price. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
I would, let them, it's a $10 difference for you. And I'm not sure how much of your business is going to fall in the $15 category and how much is in the 25 category. But moving forward, if you decide everything's 25, it doesn't mean you can't grandfather in the folks that have been coming to you regularly over the past few years and keep them at the $15 rate. I do that with my regular customers here in Dallas.
Okay.
Some of them are still, paying me a $20 travel fee when everybody, because they've been my customer for years, when anybody else that calls is paying me a $50 travel fee, because that's what it is now.
Okay.
Laura, do you have anything to add?
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking, Dawn, I'm trying to get my head around what you're charging for. So what I'm hearing, and maybe I'm just hearing it wrong, that when a customer comes to you, your location, you serve them at a certain price point above the $5. Did I understand that right?
Yes. And that's just for general notary work. Anything loan signing agent or specialty documents and legal documents have a set price. Like I have a website that states all my pricing, so it's very clear. But when it comes to them coming to me, it also depends how many signers and what type of document they do have.
Right. So you've got a fee per signature.
Correct.
And I guess what I'm trying to get my head around is if I took my gas and my time to come get my document notarized at a store here in California, they're only allowed to charge me the $15, which is what it is in California. They're not allowed to add any other fees because I did all the work to get there. I brought the document, I came there. And in your state, it's okay to charge additional fees even if you didn't go anywhere or provide any other service other than notarization. Am I understanding that right? I mean, you're not my state, so that's why I'm asking.
Yes, yes. We can charge, mobile notaries are allowed to charge an admin and a convenience fee.
Okay, but that's when
Additional to the.
you're going to them. That's what mobile means. They're not coming to your.
No, I know that, but I still was charging them. So that's why when I did the interview, when I did the Scale Up Your Business class, everybody pretty much had the same answer. They just felt as though they loved my business ethics. They loved that my answered questions that they didn't have answers to. If I didn't know, I would tell them, look, I'll come back to you. I'll find out and get back to you. But everybody pretty much said the same thing. They felt as though my fee should be cheaper for them coming to me. And in Pennsylvania, like, unless it's a loan signing, I don't bring docs to them. They have to bring the docs to me, and they have to be filled out, and all signers have to be present.
Right. So you're charging for the mobility for coming to them when and where they need it done. That's where the extra fee comes in. But if I have my own place, I have an office, and they drive into me, and I notarize a document, I'm only allowed to charge the going rate for notarizations per the state. The maximum the state would allow me to do so, unless I'm providing other services. Now, mobile, I'm going there, so now it's not regulated. I can add on whatever I want. And of course, with loan signings, it requires additional knowledge, and you're orchestrating the appointment and you're walking them through the documents. And I see that as different, which is good that you have that as different. But I'm just struggling with charging somebody $25 when they're coming to you and you're just notarizing the document. So that's where I'm struggling. So I don't think I'm going to be a lot of help to you on this particular call at the moment. But Dawn, I would love to have a deeper conversation with you so that I can understand better how that works for you, so that I can give you good counsel. I don't want to just say you can't do that, or you can do that, or that's a good price or not a good price. I really need to understand your situation better. So, Dawn, do you have my number?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Dawn, I would love for you. Today I'm booked up, but on Friday, if you can reach out to me in the morning. And you're 3 hours ahead of me, so I'm up after 7 a.m. All right.
Okay.
So, you know. Don't call me.
You can be like, "Dawn, I didn't mean this early."
Yeah. And then we could have a deeper conversation so that I can just understand your whole business model. Because I think if I understand the big picture, then I could give you better counsel.
Okay. Because I don't so everybody know, I don't just charge people that I'm constantly doing continuing education classes. When people come to me, it's not like, hi, give me your ID, sign the book, and you pay me and get out. No, a lot of times my clients are very friendly. They'll have conversations with me. My cat entertains them, and sometimes, a lot of times, majority of the times, they go into other conversations, and then I'll give them information on that. Or if they want to take classes, then I give them information on that. So it's not like it's a okay, stamp, sign, you go. It's more like sometimes they get documents emailed. They'll ask, oh, can I email you the documents?
So,
and
Dawn,
I'll print it out.
We'll talk about that in detail, because you're starting to share some things that you weren't sharing in the beginning. And so let me just get a handle on all the stuff that you in an appointment, so it can help me understand what you're trying to, set your price point at.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Dawn. And we have one last question today. So quickly, because we are almost out of time, Paula Batson, tell us where you're calling from and what your question is for us today.
After you unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Paula, and I'm calling from Ohio. And my question is, now when we go to do a POA, a durable power of attorney, when we get there, everything should be, all the information should be filled in, correct?
Yes.
Okay, because if it's not, then we can't spend our time going over it with them, correct?
Well, you
Right,
can
that's
spend time waiting for them to fill it out, but you're not going to tell them what goes where.
Okay. Okay, well, that was really my only question. Just to, just wanted to make sure that, we just have to sit there and watch them, let
Yeah,
them
if
fill it out.
you don't have another appointment, backing you up, so that you can spend a little more time and let them go ahead and fill it out before you notarize it, then that's what I would do, and I've had to do that. But I can, and I will check their document for completeness when they're done, but I will not advise them about what goes in certain spaces.
Yeah, and then when they had the checklist, because it's a financial, they had to like read and check everything, yes or no, the ones that they don't need, they could just put no there.
Well, if
it's whatever the instructions on the document say. Us advising Paula on what they need to do in that situation is crossing over into the unauthorized practice of law. And that is not your job as a notary public, but a lot of people do think it is our job. And so we have to let them know that we can't do that. So that's on you to let them know that if they have questions, they need to contact whoever sent them the paperwork.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. All right, guys, we are at the end of today's call. And just very quickly, I just wanted to share with you, I am not going to be on this call for the next 3 weeks. Laura's taken over hosting duties with, I'm sure, maybe some special guests to help out. So I'll miss you guys, but I will be back on week 4. Laura, do you have anything to say before we close out?
Make it a productive, happy day.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you in 4 weeks. Bye. But Laura will be here next week for you. Bye.
Can we stop recording?